People are pretty stupid with their money, wouldn't you agree? I mean, they make the dumbest decisions. And today, I'm actually talking about the top 5 things with your money you should never do. But the truth is, poor people, middle-class people, they're still doing these things. If you want to get smart with your money, learn what not to do. Let's talk about poor people and rich people. And when I say poor people, I don't want you to think of destitute, impoverished, homeless, people that make less than like $10, $15, $20,000 a year, or government assistance, or third world countries. I want you to think of the poor as the middle class, because this video was made for them. These are people that are actually great earners. They are working their butts off, but still there's this monster gap between them and the rich. Check it out. The difference between the rich and the poor, it's not how much money they have. It's what they do with their money. Has there ever been a time in your life where you felt like you were working way too hard and not getting ahead? For me, that's when I was in college. I was a full-time student, full load, but I also had a full-time job. And at that time, I'm like, man, this is like having 2 full-time jobs. This sucks. I have no life. I don't have time for extracurricular. I don't have time to go out. I don't have time for fun. And I'm working so hard, but guess what? I'm only sliding deeper and deeper into debt. Well, guess what? That was my motivation to not just learn the 5 things I'm sharing with you today, but it helped me become financially free at the age of 26 and escape the rat race that most of us find ourselves in. Today, I'm going to share with you the 5 things never to do with your money, but I'm also going to show you, more importantly, what you do to become wealthy quick. Rule number 1, never spend a full paycheck. As in, I just went to my job, here's my paycheck for the week, now I'm going to divvy it all out and just pay my bills. And guess what? There's not enough money left over. In fact, there's no money. There's negative money. I'm actually got to use my credit card just to float right now. When your day is long. Rule number 2, don't buy a new car. Now, don't get me wrong. I like me a nice car. In fact, I've driven and I've spent a lot of money on nice cars, but guess what? I did that after I was investing. I did that after I became wealthy, not before. You got to do things in the proper sequence, because check this out. Look at what happens to this car once you drive it off the lot. It's funny they call it a depreciating asset. They should be calling it a depreciating liability, because literally the moment you drive it off the lot, boom, it's going to go down in value. Most people's cars, you buy them brand new, that's like thumbing $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 and then literally just burning that money, taxing the machine, or in other words, that's literally like writing a $25,000 check to the garbage can and saying, hey, I don't need you anyway. That's what happens when you buy a new car. Have you ever driven a Tesla? They produce the coolest sensation, like no engine. It's like immediate power. But if you want a brand new one, like a 2020 Model S and drive it off the lot, that's $135,000. When, if you bought the exact same looking car, just a 2018 model, did you know that you can pick that up for $85,000? There's a $50,000 difference between the $135,000 and the $80,000. When you decide I'm buying new so I can look or feel or whatever a certain way, just understand that you're pissing $50,000 down the drain. By the way, did you know if you took that $50,000 difference and you invested it for 30 years at just averaging 10% ROI, you'd have $1.5 million versus piss? Is that piss? Is that piss? Number 3, make smart investments. Because look at what the middle class is doing. They're doing things that the rich would never do. They're too busy putting their money in low-performing vehicles like 401ks, IRAs, mutual funds, annuities. None of these investments earning their single-digit ROI are going to turn into any kind of real wealth 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, not even in a couple of lifetimes. Rich people, they don't do this garbage. This is what po people do, the people that can't afford the O and the R. Just slapped you with 10 grand. Listen, study wealthy people. They don't do what the poor people do. Look at Buffett. In 2008, when the market was crashing, everyone was terrified of real estate. I was competing against Warren Buffett that year. He bought 40,000 single family homes because guess what? Did you know that real estate done the right way can perform at 20 to 30% annual ROI as opposed to a 3% or 4% annuity or maybe 6 or 7% on a 401k or an IRA? Literally, real estate at 25% ROI over 20 years makes 26 times more money than the stock market average. And then also, guess what? The wealthy put their money into business.
I'm going to make you an offer, and it's the only offer I'm going to make. Not going to negotiate.
You gotta be kidding me.
They can earn 100%, 500%, 5,000% returns with being an active business owner. This is where they're stashing their cash. Number 4 thing never to do with your money is gambling. I recently took a trip to Las Vegas and I got curious. You know what? I walked the floor with the camera on. I got busted later for it. But I was actually interviewing and asking people, what are you doing with your money? Are you actually making money? And check this out. I hear these Buffalo Goods are good machines.
I don't know, you scared the hell out of me.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Are you winning here today?
Not today, but yesterday we did.
How much did you get yesterday?
I don't know, maybe about 160.
160 bucks? Oh, right on.
Just fun.
How much did you put in to get that?
160?
20 bucks?
Yeah,
Well, that's a good return.
it is.
Put 20 in, get 160 back?
Yeah.
The house always wins. It's like you're trying to bet against yourself, and I'm sorry, that's another $500 down the drain. Because look at this. 80% of American adults gamble on a yearly basis. But did you know that you are more likely, rather than winning, to either get robbed or get in a car crash on the way home? Now, I've saved the best for last, but before I reveal the 5th thing never to do with your money, I just want to get clear with you. At the end of this video, as a bonus, I am going to share with you something that you should do with your money that actually makes crap loads of money so that you actually have more to put towards that 20% sleep well at night account. And in all of the years that you would need some extra money, my friend, that is now. Hang tight. I've been living in multi-million-dollar houses for the last decade, but it wasn't always that way. When I was poor before I had money, I didn't do that. But guess what everyone's trying to do? Everyone's trying to keep up with the Joneses. Number 5, don't buy a big house like the Joneses, whoever they are. In other words, this is like the biggest money pit. By the way, big homes come with like expensive upkeep. When I built my first multi-million-dollar house, it was an average of $1,000 a month just for like the gardening maintenance, right? And that's what happens with a big home. There's an $800 electrical bill and here's a $1,200 furnace bill. And all of a sudden, you're pissing your money away again left and right, when instead you should be saving that money, investing that money. And then here's what you do that's different. Let your investments buy you the nice stuff. I live in a beautiful home today. It's up in the mountains. That's where I spend a lot of my time with my wife and my kids. We're traveling the world. We're doing amazing things when it's not a crazy pandemic year. And we can afford that because our investments pay for it, not my job. I met a couple who just sold their house. They got a $135,000 check because their house went up in value. Guess what they did? They dumped every penny of it as a down payment on their next bigger home that they wanted to live in. You know what they should have done? They should have socked some of that aside and put a down payment on a tiny little entry-level house, just like I do, just like Warren Buffett does, because in 5 years, that home can be sold and turned into 2 homes. And in 5 years, it can be sold, it can turn into 4 homes. Or rather, you know what the couple should have done? They should have bought 3. Because in 5 years, 3 becomes 6, and in roughly 5 more years, 6 becomes 12. And now it's inevitable that you become rich because you're being smart. You're delaying gratification. You're saying, I would rather get 2 marshmallows in 5 minutes than 1 marshmallow right now.